from the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast.
While one hurricane threatens, victims of another see help from Congress. Just how healthy is the ag economy? In agribusiness, can soybeans bounce?
Just a couple bushel swing one way or the other on final yields can really mean the difference between, fairly priced beans here at $9.25, or, maybe having to go back above 10 and challenge $11 again.
Feeder margins have been good, but can they hold? And a patch for folks looking to quit smoking may help people fighting a chronic lung disease.
AgDay, presented by the Chevy Silverado. High-strength steel for high-strength dependability.
Good morning, I'm Clint Griffiths. While the southeast United States prepares for the onslaught of Hurricane Irma, Congress takes action to provide disaster aid to victims of Hurricane Harvey. The House overwhelmingly passing $8 billion in Hurricane Harvey disaster relief. The 419-3 vote sent the aid package, likely the first of several, to the Senate in hopes of sending the bill to the president before dwindling federal disaster reserves run out at the end of this week. This aid is intended to replenish FEMA's coffers drained quickly by Harvey, just as Hurricane Irma barrels across the Caribbean and threatens Florida. The National Hurricane Center says Irma is the most powerful storm ever recorded in the Atlantic Ocean, with wind speeds hovering near 185 miles an hour. This is webcam footage as the storm tore across the island of St. Martin. The storm, 200 miles across, bigger than the state of Florida. Irma has left a path of destruction on tiny islands that were in her unfortunate path. Now, damage estimates continue to pour in from Texas and Louisiana, still recovering from Harvey. Focusing on crops, the overall Texas cotton crop actually improved from a week ago, now 59% called good to excellent. The state NASS office says the majority of the crop was outside of the storm's path and received little rain due to damage. However, there are estimates of 400,000 acres of lost cotton from the southeast counties. Meanwhile, several Louisiana crops sustained serious damage from the historic storm. The state NASS report showing the state's cotton crop lost 14 points in quality. Now 49% called good to excellent there. It's unfortunate timing to hit nearly 3/4 of the cotton crop had open bolls. And the state's soybean crop also lost 14 points. 56% now rated good to excellent. About half of the crop was nearly ready for harvest. A milk processing plant in Beaumont, Texas is bottling water instead of milk to help residents cope with water outages caused by Harvey. Cars lined up for a mile for one case of bottled water. Harvey knocked out the city's water plant. The milk processing plant, owned by Kroger Supermarkets, shut down and started bottling water in milk jugs for distribution at a local store.
I couldn't tell you exactly how many customers, but there was a long line across the front of the store here with individuals participating.
It's not a good situation. We've been in line every day at all of the different stores buying water because we unfortunately aren't in line in time to get the free water. So we'll be happy to pay for it, but it's really hard. We have to ration it at the house. There's 5 of us in the house with 3 dogs, and so we've got a pool. So we're getting the water out of the pool to flush toilets and using the bottled water for cooking and for washing hands and for drinking. So it's really hard.
The second round of talks on renegotiating the North American Free Trade Agreement ended Tuesday, and most of the differences between the 3 countries seem to stem from dispute resolution. The head negotiators for all 3 countries at the talks in Mexico City said progress had been made during the 5 days of talks, but there were about 24 chapters of the trade deal that were tabled for later discussions. One contentious area in particular is the so-called Chapter 19 provisions, which account for dispute resolutions. The next round will be held in 3 weeks in Ottawa, Canada. On Tuesday, Purdue University and the CME Group released their monthly pulse of farmers' sentiment regarding the ag economy. A reading over 100 indicates optimism regarding the farm economy, while a reading below indicates pessimism. Well, in August, the barometer drifted lower to 132. That's down 7 points from July, but still stronger than the year-ago level of 96. Now, much of that drop due to commodity prices continuing to drift lower in 2017.
These are not saying that these are overall good times in the ag economy. There's still a lot of concern. 4 out of 10 producers think that reported their operation is worse off today than a year ago, so this underscores a difficult time out there, but we haven't seen, we've seen some improvement and some moderation in the last 12 months, and we've seen an uptick in sentiment as a result.
Farmer sentiment is one thing, reality can be different. Now, 2/3 of the way into 2017, how healthy is that farm economy? Well, Tyne Morgan joins us now from Omaha with some potential answers to that question. Tyne.
Thanks, Clinton. Yeah, here with Nathan Kaufman. He's the executive of the Omaha branch of the KC Fed. Yesterday, we saw the CME Purdue barometer that came out, showed producer sentiments dropped sharply from a couple months ago, but still relatively higher than we were a year ago. So, Nathan, I mean, when we look at this farm financial picture, are we really that much better than we were a year ago at this time?
I think the important thing to note is that farmer sentiment does tend to ebb and flow with what we see in commodity prices. And as we look at agricultural commodity prices, 2015, 2016 was difficult in the livestock sector. We saw a little bit of a rebound in early 2017. And here a couple months ago, we had been seeing crop prices that were higher than where we are today. So when we try to get a sense of where things might be in terms of the financial picture in agriculture today relative to a couple months ago or relative to last year, we have to keep that in mind, simply the fact that we have seen some rebound in livestock prices. Crop prices had maybe risen a bit coming into the summer, coming into the growing season, but now on expectation that we've got a large harvest, they've fallen a bit back. So I think even though we're seeing some deterioration here in the last couple of months, it's still a recognition that maybe cash flow is better than where it had been a year ago.
But looking some of these indicators, I mean, when you look at delinquency rates, liquidity, you know, some of those indicators on the farm, how does the farm financial picture look right now?
I think we have seen delinquency rates still pick up from a year ago, but from a very, very low level, and they're still historically low. So we're still seeing some financial stress, and some producers may be in more trouble than others. But we are starting to see things maybe stabilize a bit relative to last year.
And I know you cover 7 different states, a wide geography. When you look at Nebraska down to Oklahoma, I mean, you cover a wide area. Overall with land values, do you think we've put a bottom in?
We are also seeing, I think, some stability in those markets. We've been seeing land values fall by about 5 to 7% year over year. They're highly regional though, so I think that we could still see some pressure going down further. But in some areas, we may not see land values fall further from today.
All right, thanks so much. Nathan Kaufman with the KC Fed. They release an ag report, which we'll follow to look and see how the farm financial picture heads into the fall months. Reporting from Omaha, Nebraska, I'm Tyne Morgan for Ag Day.
Meteorologist Mike Hoffman joining us now with a look at some crop comments. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Clinton. Dave Ogden in Wood River, Nebraska, sending us an aerial photo. He says corn doesn't look perfect from the air. He says there is some wind damage in this field. USDA says 63% of the state's corn condition is ranked good to excellent, though. And Ron Tremmel in Earling, Iowa, says the dry growing conditions are beneficial for his grape crops. He says while it's hurt some of the corn and beans, the grape crop has benefited from decreased pest and disease pressure. Most of his varieties are as good as they have been in years. And taking a look at the weather map, you can see a big wet system in the northeastern part of the country, a weak one diving through the Great Lakes. The rest of the country at this point, pretty dry. I'll have our forecast coming up, but first here are some hometown temps.
This is Machinery Pete, inviting you to check out my new website, machinerypete.com. Offering farmers tens of thousands of used equipment listings to search, let Machinery Pete help you find and value your next piece of used equipment.
Still to come, we'll check on the bean market and the potential to see a price pop. And what's the outlook for cattle feeders? Our partners at Drovers will analyze. And later, a chronic lung disease finds new hope in an old solution. In agribusiness, there was plenty of action in markets Wednesday. Let's get details from the floor of the CME over in Chicago.
Today in soybeans, we were up again. Thank goodness. The futures rallied and they really have some bullish momentum, and it really continues to grow. We're up at a recent high right now, and technically speaking, we had a little bit of a breakout on the high side. It is entering some areas of resistance, but the market still looks really good. There's a lot of optimism on the horizon, even as we head into harvest time. Hogs also steady. Thank goodness for that. You know, this small trading range really is gathering the market and hanging on to the gains that we had yesterday. So that looks very well. The market was really oversold for so long. We expected that there was going to be some buyers coming in, but the market is grinding higher, and it's really, you know, found its footing now. And so we expect that the market continue to move higher, you know, barring some other situation. That's all from the floor at the CME Group. I'm Virginia McGathy.
Chip Nellinger, Blue Reef Agri-Marketing, our guest. Chip, let's talk about soybeans and the soybean crop. A lot of potential from what we're hearing from scouts out in the fields, but it's still just potential. But the weather's been helping.
Yeah, you know what? The big potential there, and definitely some rains here in August in the areas that have received them, definitely going to be a benefit. You know, our question is, though, you're not finishing out the bean crop probably in the best manner, and that means, in our minds, a lot cooler than average temperatures here for the last few weeks.
Absolutely.
Looks like the first half of September forecast to be way below average. You know, these beans have a long way to go, really immature beans, especially in the eastern corn belt. And I'm not sure that these cool temperatures are really what, you know, the best way to finish the bean crop out. So we may leave a little potential on the table. It's going to take till the combines roll through them. But, you know, with the way the demand is, just a couple bushel swing one way or the other on final yields can really mean the difference between, you know, fairly priced beans here at 9, 9 1/4, or, you know, maybe having to go back above 10 and challenge $11 again. So 2 bushels on the national average yield mean a huge amount.
Yeah, I guess the other side of that equation is the demand has been fairly good for soybeans, which is kind of helping keep a floor under this thing while we try to get it finished.
Demand's phenomenal. The South American farmer has been a tight holder. You know, they had a big crop down there, but currency issues have them tight holders. That shifted demand our way. So world demand is just massive right now. And, you know, the USDA quietly on this last August report, what kind of went unnoticed was they cut old crop carryout, they increased new crop demand. So, you know, what was that, 120 some million bushels came right off the bottom line because demand got increased.
Yeah, we'll take it. We'll take it any way we can get
exactly.
it, right? All right, appreciate it, Chip. We'll be back with more AgDay in just a minute.
Farming has changed. Markets are riskier than ever. For customized, focused commodity marketing, contact Chip Nellinger or Adam Dreyer at 309-550-7213. Join us on the U.S. Farm Report Facebook page, Friday, September 8th at 10 a.m. Central Time for Foliar Health Focus. We'll have experts live in the field discussing proactive disease control strategies that worked this year and ways to boost your yield in 2018. AgDay weather, brought to you by Credenz soybean seed from Bayer.
Welcome back to AgDay here with meteorologist Mike Hoffman. Mike, as we look at the weather map, really everybody's watching what's not on here.
I know, you're right. It's still southeast of this map, no doubt about it. Irma, it'll pop in here before we're done with this map, though. But you can see right now there's a cold front into northern Florida. But that's the least of Florida's worries. Big storm in the northeast, little one diving through the Great Lakes, and really that's about it as far as moisture is concerned. There'll be a little bit of hit and miss in the afternoon hours this afternoon in the southwest with that low pressure system still sitting there. There's late in the day today. You can see the showers continue around the Great Lakes with that secondary system. This is another cool high pressure area moving in, and that will continue to move away. And if I step away, you can see our computer model showing Irma right there starting to move toward the northwest, and still anybody's guess exactly where it goes, but it looks like Florida or east of Florida are the most likely scenarios at the moment. But you have to pay close attention to that, obviously, if you live in the southeastern part of the country, anywhere from Florida to North Carolina. Precipitation estimates past 24 hours, most of it's been up and down the East Coast, a few spotty amounts through the Great Lakes. Adding in the next 36 hours, you can see we continue to add to the same areas with a couple of spots out west. Now that next cool front does actually come into Washington and Oregon with some scattered showers for a change. High temperatures this afternoon, only 50s and 60s. Great Lakes, Ohio Valley into the northeast, very cool for this time of the year. 70s almost all the way to the Gulf Coast, which is pretty amazing. And then you can see low temperatures tonight going to drop off into the 40s and 50s in the Great Lakes. 50s all the way down into northern Mississippi, northern Alabama, and Georgia. Pretty cool temperatures for early September. And highs tomorrow afternoon, it will start to warm up again in the western plains, but still pretty cool in the Great Lakes and the Northeast. All because of that huge trough. This would be a cold blast of air in the winter, let me tell you, but that does move away. Ridge starts to build in. There's kind of what our computer model does with Irma, and you can see it didn't have a trough to kick it out. If it was coming in right now with that big trough, it would take it out to sea. But unfortunately, the timing on that didn't quite work out, and so we do have to watch Irma because it's probably going to hit somewhere in the southeastern part of the country. That's a look across the country. Now let's take a look at some local forecasts. First of all, Springerville, Arizona, partly sunny and quite comfortable today. High temperature of 80 degrees. Rochester, Minnesota, a mixture of sunshine and clouds on the mild side, high of 71. And Savannah, Georgia, partly sunny and less humid today, high around 83.
Drovers TV and fresh feeder margin projections are coming up next, and later, doctors discover a new use for an old treatment. On Drovers TV, in the first 8 months of 2017, cattle feeders have seen improved profits. Sterling Marketing telling the team at Drovers that during that time, feeders have made nearly $6 billion. Now, the positive numbers started after Thanksgiving last year and rose steadily until May, when per head profits climbed to nearly $600 a head.
Cattle feeding margins will end the year with average annual profits of about $180 per head. That compares to average annual losses of about $4 per head in 2016 and losses of about $110 per head in 2015. Beef packers have also enjoyed several months of excellent profits.
Henderson says over the same 40-week period, beef packers' profit margins totaled $2.3 billion, which is nearly double the same period a year ago. He does say, however, larger supplies and declining wholesale beef prices are driving cash cattle lower here in recent weeks, and feeders may have a fight to stay in the black. For the first time in 42 weeks, average cattle feeder margins look to be negative. In the southern plains, winter wheat is already going in thanks to improved soil moisture in many places. In Oklahoma, state specialists say early planting could add extra time to winter grazing.
Well, because of this early start, and not only the wheat can get started early, but other forages are green and growing right now. That's not really usual for us. So it's possible to think about early grazing this fall using maybe a combination of pastures and then the wheat pasture coming on early to get up, upwards of 30 days or maybe even more on the front end of our normal winter grazing period.
Peel says due to current wheat prices, many producers are already considering grazing out these fields rather than harvesting it for grain. Combined with the early start, that could provide an extra 100 days of grazing time for producers running stockers. Nicotine patches may help you quit smoking, but doctors have found a new use for them to treat an incurable disease. Details coming up in Ag for Your Health.
In the Country, sponsored by Kubota. Discover the power behind the M6 series at Kubota.com or visit your local Kubota dealer today.
Smokers often turn to nicotine patches to help them quit, but researchers may have found another use for those patches that could give relief to patients with a chronic lung disease. Clark Powell has details in this report provided by the Ohio State's Wexner Medical Center.
After falling on some ice, Jose Serra had a CAT scan to assess his injuries, and his doctor noticed a spot on his lung that he was worried could be cancer.
The result was that it was no cancer. Good news. The other news was sarcoidosis. It was the final diagnosis.
Sarcoidosis is a growth of inflammatory cells, most likely triggered by inhaling things like pesticides. Left untreated, it can cause severe lung damage and even death. Unlike most lung diseases, the main symptom isn't shortness of breath, but crippling fatigue. Jose says he was drinking 3 energy drinks just to make it through the day. His doctor prescribed a steroid, but the side effects were harsher than the disease itself.
We can't use them for very long before these side effects occur, and they can be very severe, such as the development of diabetes or high blood pressure and complications relating to those, osteoporosis, cataracts, etc.
So Dr. Elliot Krauser is conducting a clinical trial at the Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center to test nicotine patches, normally used to help people quit smoking, as a treatment for sarcoidosis.
We're hoping that people will actually get a secondary benefit. Not only will their lung disease get better, but they'll also feel more energized and be able to get up and go.
Results from the initial study were promising, so Dr. Krauser is now doing a larger randomized trial, exploring if nicotine patches can be a long-term solution to not only help patients feel better, but reverse the progression of the disease. At Ohio State Wexner Medical Center, this is Clark Powell reporting.
All right, thanks, Clark. Now, patients will wear these nicotine patches for about 6 months to see how it affects their disease and their energy levels. That's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. Start your day with us. For Tyne Morgan and Mike Hoffman, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.
AgDay is powered by Ram Trucks, America's longest-lasting pickups.